is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. We are actually in the building where they are shooting the VMAs, which is pretty interesting. But we got Benny from Avoid on the phone. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. What's going on? Happy to be here.
It's really happy to have you here as well. Again, I really enjoyed your last full-length album, Alone, but you also have this new EP coming out. Could this new EP almost serve as like maybe a clear representation on the direction that Avoid is going into?
Definitely. Like, with Alone, there's a couple songs on there that we absolutely love, and not that I'm going to hate on that album at all, but it was definitely more of a rushed thing. All of us were still pretty young. I think, like, Nick and I were, like, 19, 20 years old when we were writing that record. Not that we're much older than that now, but we were, there's a lot of learning that happened in the time of writing Alone, some tours that we went on, a lot of really awesome opportunities, and just our eyes opened into a crazy new world, and it made us really decide that we didn't want to rush anything or try and be anything anymore except for just what makes us happy.
So is it fair to say that maybe like the Burner EP, there was a lot more of like testing the waters in a way?
Yeah, it was a lot more experimental, I guess, but I feel like if anything, it feels like this is what we've always wanted to do, but now we finally figured out how to do it, you know?
Yeah, so it almost feels like the Burner EP, this is like the trailer for maybe what the next full-length Avoid album is.
100%, and I think it's going to open the door. I mean, it's only going to get weirder from here. That's what I would say. Heavier and more experimental, not going to go and be a pop band tomorrow or be a really, really heavy band tomorrow. We just really want to set a tone that we can put out any song we want. If we put out the heaviest song in the damn world tomorrow, it would be sick. And we could also put out a 4-chord pop song tomorrow, and people would also dig that. Like, we want to set the ground to give us the opportunity to do whatever the damn hell we want.
So before you know it, you'll be on tour with Cannibal Corpse, and then you'll be on a tour with Billie Eilish.
Dude, that's the goal. That's the dream, dude. That is 100% that's the shooting for the stars. But yeah, we want to fit anywhere. We're just here to hang out, you know?
Definitely. I really like how you go into it with like a laid back attitude. It's like when it comes to songwriting, you don't really like overthink too much or try to like revolve too much around a preconceived idea, right?
No, it's definitely, we're a lot more about a spur of the moment. And I would say the big difference is like, for Alone, and I wouldn't say that it wasn't any different, wasn't any different in the effort we put in. I would say we honestly put a lot more effort into the Burner, but the songs were written a lot faster. And that was the thing, is because the ideas were flowing, we really liked what we were doing, we knew we were kind of onto kind of what you were saying, what the future of this band was going to be. We finally feel like we have a little bit of our identity. And so instead of, like, Alone was a lot of tweaking all the little things and taking months to finish a song, whereas the Burner, we would write a song in a day and then spend months enjoying it and playing it in the practice room and just kind of giving it's like morphing it rather than refining it.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever go into the songwriting mode with a preconceived idea, or do you kind of like improvise until like the composition sort of comes into place?
I would say, for me, I'm crazy ADHD, which you will definitely learn in talking to me for a few minutes. I really like going into, I'm thinking of the funniest shit and the weirdest shit. If you saw our newest music video, that's how Fight Meat came together. It was like our guitarist Luke just started joking about that on tour for like a year, and it was just an inside joke. We were like, how funny would it be if there was actually like a Fight Meat energy company that sold steaks? And then our buddy Dylan, who we were doing music videos with, he was like, let's film a commercial for it. And so it's like, that's a lot of how like the songwriting ideas come up, is we're constantly writing music and we're always letting the instrumentations fall out, and then we kind of figure out, like, we're going to write a song about this. It's totally off the dome, really dumb, whether it was right in that moment or something I wrote down months ago, but that's a lot of the concepts.
Yeah.
My dog just started freaking out in the back.
That's all good. Do you know how many dogs I've heard in the background during Skype interviews? Right now, when I was doing a lot of these interviews from my apartment, dealing with the sound of dogs, now I have the VMAs in the background interfering. So
that's great. So where's your studio at?
I work at a sound studio in Greenpoint, in Brooklyn.
Oh, that's awesome. awesome, man.
So everybody who's bitching about the VMAs, actually happening during this time, I have to work around it. So.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But
I mean, not amazing, but it's an amazing situation to be in. Like,
yeah,
how wild is this time?
yeah, it's interesting to say the least. It's like an oasis in like a desert wasteland.
That's the best. That's the best I've heard so far.
There you go. And like, what's funny is, and you really hit the nail on the head, because just listening to the first two singles that are available to everybody, Flashbang and Song About James, I mean, you don't have to worry about an Avoid song sounding too much like an Avoid song. That's something that you want to, pun intended, avoid at all costs, right?
Absolutely, and it's like, and if it happens, it happens. I think it's more about we're not going to write a song because we think it needs to be an Avoid song. Like, we write a song and that's an Avoid song is kind of our process, if that makes sense.
Definitely. And like, because like you experiment so much, it's like trying new things is never an issue. Like, that's just
exactly. And I feel like even and I mean, we don't have a ton of music out to the world, we just have those couple records, but I feel like anyone that's seen us live, I mean, we've been touring pretty relentlessly for the better half of 5 years, and anyone that's seen us kind of knows that even in our live show, we're constantly trying to experiment with little jams, playing new songs live. I mean, we are always playing songs that aren't released live and just trying to test the waters. And honestly, that's how we really see if a song's going to make it or not, if it gets a good live response.
Mm-hmm. That's always a good way of putting it, because human interaction and the reaction to the music. People want to say don't give a shit about what people think, but I think learning about what people think can help influence you one way or another. It's never a bad thing to take it into account.
And so that's kind of where our process is. We try not to get too caught up in what people think, but our number one, we love playing shows and we love touring and we love everything about touring, the shitty parts and the great parts. It's just something we fucking love for some reason. And and that's the most important thing for us, is getting able to play shows. And the songs we write, we just write songs we like, so we don't really give a shit if some of them don't make the cut. And so it's not like we're like, we want to make sure people like this song, but it's like, all right, well, we have this song, let's try it out live, and if people dig it, then we're probably onto something.
Are you ever worried that the song you leave out one day could be a B-side one day, just be the biggest hit you guys ever had?
All the time I think about that. If there's ever a song that doesn't make the record, I'm like, that's going to be the one that was going to make it. If we ever, like, if I'm looking back in, like, 20 years and we don't get to where we want to be, and we have this fucking banger B-side that we just never released, oh my God, I'd be so bummed.
Yeah, that's always the worst. And like, I've noticed not only do you have many different sounds in your music, but I've noticed that there's many different vibes and emotions as well. Like, going back to Alone, like going from 28 Days to a song like Shapes to a song like Bloom, like there was so many different vibes and, like End of an Era. Like, is it fair to say that a lot of these songs are representative of a particular emotion that you were feeling at a specific time?
100%. We absolutely try and capture the moment that we're doing something, and we definitely write about how we're feeling in that instance.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it maybe like the longer you're working on something, though, the harder it is to kind of maintain that emotion? Because, sometimes you're working on an album for days, weeks, if you're Tool, 13 years, so...
No, certainly. Like, I think, like, I mean, even with it's like, when I started doing more with like this newer stuff that I didn't do with Alone, I was also a lot more of an emotional 19-year-old when I wrote that album, and The Burner was, I mean, I don't know, we got burned, if you will, a couple times in the years of, our formative years after we put out Alone, and kind of learned about how seriously some people take this and how terrible some people are to other people, and it really just made us take a step back from it and being like, man, why are we taking ourselves so seriously? No one takes themselves in this industry, but sometimes people try and say they're taking themselves seriously. But at the end of the day, you're just a giant kid. You're literally traveling across the world, playing shows every night, and then getting drunk and hanging out with your friends afterwards, and that's what your job is. Like, why are you taking yourself so seriously? And then we were still able to make more, like, for example, like Flashbang is a really dumb, like, it's actually a really cool song, and the lyrics came out the way they did, but my broad concept was like, how funny would it be if a NASCAR driver took acid at like 2 in the morning because they were partying hella hard, but they had a race the next day. So like their race is at 11 a.m. and that dude's just tripping balls on acid trying to figure out how to drive his car around a track. And then I like pictured myself in that person's shoes and then wrote about what that emotion would probably feel like.
Wow, so it's like you take inspiration from multiple sources.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just constantly rolling, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like your music is very technically impressive. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're just throwing a bunch of riffs down and making noise. I really was really impressed with the technical excellence of the music. So I'd imagine there has to be some moment of seriousness when composing the
Oh,
music.
certainly. And I think that comes into we take ourselves very seriously with our craft. Where it's like we don't take the being in a band seriously, but we do at the same time, if that makes sense. Like we don't necessarily care about having the most insane like story for a song. If a funny thing will get the same idea, but our guitar player Nick still practices at least 4 hours a day, and I'm constantly practicing vocals. And all of us, we care very much about our instrument and our musicianship, and that we just love playing music. And so it's like, and we're just goofy guys, and so that's more so how it comes out. It's like I feel like we all put in the time to make sure that we have the technical ability to do whatever we want with our instruments, and then being goofy guys that don't really give a shit, it makes us have a lot of fun.
So it's fair to say that like the live presence is almost kind of like your method of letting loose in a way.
Absolutely, the line. And even just like we love practicing. We love just. We still, even through quarantine, we've tried to practice 2 times a week and just enjoy playing music together. And truly, through that, I actually think I'm so excited to play live to people again, because I think we are a completely different band than even when we came into the. We stopped touring in March, and then we've been home since, and we're going to come out. Our live show is going to be so different, and I'm so excited to kind of just see how that goes, you know?
Yeah, I have just mark my words. I've been saying this a lot, and people have been telling me, "Shut up, don't jinx it. You're an idiot, whatever." I know that when this is over, it will eventually be over. Yes, we will enter the best era of music of all time. I think.
I truly agree, and I think that this is going to, as much as I hate to say, it's going to wean out all the dead weight. If you don't love this with your whole heart, and you were doing it for clout or doing it for whatever it was, if you just weren't in doing music because you love playing music, you're not going to make it through this. And as weird as it is, there's so many people that work so hard and really, really, really have such a great craft and a great piece of art that haven't gotten to be showcased yet. And I think it's going to just amplify them to the biggest degree when we can start having these big shows again and stuff.
Definitely. And I like what you said, kind of like weed out the weak, because like there's people who like if you're rolling your eyes on the way to a concert because you're just going there because you feel like you have to, or because whatever, like this is going to like weed out all of the bad attitude and the negativity that was plaguing the scene long before this virus.
100%. Like I think we've all been at a show or been on tour with a band that just, oh fuck, man, it's shot tonight. This sucks. I would rather be at home and da da da. Like I could be at home making money. Why am I here at this shitty bar? And it's just like, yeah, like you could look at it that way, but it's also like maybe the next show won't be like that, and this is all a part of the experience. You know, you're still here with your guys. You're traveling. Like people would kill to be in your shoes right now, even playing shitty shows, and you're just, oh, I would rather be at home. Then go home.
Yeah, I'll take your job.
Right, exactly. It's like, no, like why are you out here if you don't just love being out here?
Definitely. One thing I was curious about is I ask all vocalists this: do you need the music before you lay down the lyrics, or has there ever been a time where maybe there was like a lyrical subject matter that helped dictate the direction of the song?
I'd say for us, and I write a lot with our guitarist Nick, and we really work well off of each other. But I'm a very musically driven person, and I'm very much about the melody and how things sound. And so if anything that I come up with first, I usually come up with like a chorus hook or something like that. But I know what I want the guitars and drums and everything doing when I come up with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and nothing could be more heartbreaking too, right, than having like the best lyrics ever, but then they're always like one syllable over or under the arrangement.
Exactly. Like, and I think that, just with how my brain works, I'm a very musically minded person, and so it's like if I'm having a bad day or I'm having a great day, like I'm kind of thinking like of dumb little jingles about it in my head, and then sometimes they stick and sometimes they don't. But it's like that's, I feel like, how the catchiness of the choruses kind of come out, but it also sticks with the what you said about the attitude in the moment we're feeling. It's like we're kind of always thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I was having a discussion with another band actually before you about this. Overthinking, though, could also be like the worst thing that could happen for an artist, right?
Oh my gosh, we know all too much about overthinking, and I think it's the biggest thing that'll plague your band. And I think if you're in a situation where you're overthinking your songs, or you're talking shit about your dumb bass player behind his back because he never shows up to practice on time, and if you have any of that toxic energy in your band, it's going to drag you back.
Unless you use it as fuel for creativity.
It is, but I still feel like once you dry that, like, you don't want to be in a band with someone you hate. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I feel like, I've seen so many bands that are just like, when they're behind closed doors, they're like, yeah, fucking Derek, dude, he's such a dork. Like, I don't even know why he's here. And then it's like, well, then why are you presenting your band to me like that? Like, what's gonna make me be stoked about your art if you don't even like the people you're doing it with?
Yeah, and the audience is much smarter than a lot of artists think. They'll see through it.
Absolutely, dude, 100%.
Yeah. Like, don't underestimate the audience. There's definitely some people who see right through that shit.
Dude, people just kind of sometimes think of the audience as just like dumb sheep, you know? And it's like, I don't know, like, one of the most inspiring things to me ever is this like funk band called Wolfpack. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I love them. They are amazing.
Amazing. And they have that video of them at Madison Square Garden where they make the crowd harmonize in a 3-part harmony. And it's amazing. And it's like they literally do it so nonchalant. Like, all right, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And within 30 seconds, the entire crowd is beautifully harmonized. 20,000 people.
Yeah.
14,000 people. Madison Square Garden.
And they want to say that the audience, like, doesn't, or not them particularly, but, like, and some people think that, like, the audience isn't capable of that. I'm like, you'd be amazed on what the audience can do.
You'd be amazed at what the audience can do. And because it's like, I mean, I think about it, I'm a fan of music, and I'm musically inclined, but I love nothing more than being in the crowd, and I imagine a lot of music lovers are kind of like that, you know, like, you know, at least, and even if you don't, you still kind of know a basic thing, but I feel like a lot of music lovers at least know how to dink around on a riff, or you sing in your car alone or something, like you can hold a pitch.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Tom Morello kind of went off on a rant the other day, like, I mean, it was earlier in quarantine, but he's like, we're in the era of music where kids aren't going to practice their instrument for 8 hours a day, and that fucking sucks, and it's going to bleed bad musicianship. And I saw a lot of people kind of give him shit about that, but it's like, in a weird way, he's not wrong. And I think it goes, maybe it's not guitar, but it's like, think about any DJ that's making it right now. They're making beats for 8 hours a day. Like, it takes a lot of time to be a master at your craft. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nobody is natural. I don't buy for a second that somebody is naturally good at something.
I mean, there's some people, and I only say this because I went to high school with this literal prodigy guitar kid. I don't understand how his brain works that good, but he was playing national anthems at sports games when he was like 6. Wow. And he was just this virtuoso, and I was like, okay, how does your brain work this well on this particular subject?
Well, some people learn it easier than others, but like yeah, everybody was a fetus at one point. So
you're absolutely exactly like some people just have their calling, but if you don't brush up on your thing, like you're still gonna like. There's so many vocalists that like brag about how they don't warm up before they play or something like that, and it's like, why are you bragging about that? You're probably gonna hurt yourself someday.
Yeah. Don't mess around with that. Don't fuck with fate.
Right? It's like, take care of your like. I think it's really important to believe in your craft.
Definitely. And the final question I wanted to ask you is the most difficult one. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. How do you know when a song is done?
Oh fuck, dude. Oh, you don't.
Oh, I get that all the time. You could do better than that.
Well, I think. When you stop thinking about it so much, I think you kind of know, a song is done when it becomes hard to think of new things for it.
That's a good way of putting it.
Like, if you're like, oh man, this bridge isn't 100%, but it kind of flows with the song and you got everything else that's right, and you're spending like 2 months to finish that bridge, it's like, odds are it's probably good enough to put out. Like all that time that you spent being stressed out about that could have been 3 more songs that you use that creative energy for.
Definitely. That was a good way of putting it.
Thank you. Hell yeah.
I give you an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Hey, I'll stick the landing for an 8 out of 10, baby.
All right. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. This is definitely the most positive interview I've had since the world came to an end.
Oh man, I'm happy to hear that, bro. I love chatting. I love just hanging out. Like I said, we're here to have a good time no matter who you are. I appreciate you wanting to talk to me.
Yeah, I'm always interested in hearing what artists have to say and, what they're up to, especially during these times.
Thank you so much.
There
man.
is no better time to be an artist than right now.
I really is
On the creative aspect. On the creative
on
aspect.
the creative aspect, it's like you can use that depression and that terribleness as much as it, and take care of yourself and check in on your friends. That's what I want to leave it with. But also, you can use that energy to create some beautiful, beautiful art, and you put it back positively.
Definitely. Just obviously, thanks to the virus that I'm not naming on my outlet, I'm not giving it any publicity. Obviously, shows aren't happening, but when could we be expecting a new Avoid full-length album, if you're allowed to say? And obviously, we'll be seeing you on the road quite a bit when this is all over, right?
Yes. Well, the EP will be out in November, and I can't speak. There's a new song next month. And then there's going to be a couple more fun stuff that we're going to release throughout the rest of the year. And then after the EP is out, we definitely don't want to make you wait too long to hear what we've been working on sets, because we have like 20 songs written now that we're going to start weaning out. But music's written. It's just about figuring out a plan now.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing it, and I know it'll be worth the wait. But thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, everybody. We are here with Avoid, new EP coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.